Hey guys, welcome back! With World of Warcraft now over 15 years old, I've decided it was the perfect time to look back at Blizzard's impressive classic catalog. Nowadays it's hard to imagine PC gaming without thinking of Blizzard. It's responsible for three of the most important franchises on the platform: World of Warcraft, Diablo and StarCraft, and has had phenomenal success with its WoW spin-off, Hearthstone. Once upon a time though, things were very different for the fledgling developer. Originally formed in 1991 by Frank Pierce, Alan Adam and Michael Morhaime, Blizzard was originally known as Silicon and Synapse and started off creating Amiga, PC and Mac ports for a range of games, including Battle Chess and Castles. That all changed with the release of RPM Racing, its first standalone game for the Super Nintendo. Other console releases quickly followed, including Rock'n'Roll Racing, The Lost Vikings, and the death and return of Superman. But it was the release of the real-time strategy hit Warcraft, Orcs and Humans that saw the Irvine-based developer turn its focus to the PC market. The move was a shrewd one, with Blizzard Entertainment now being one of the biggest players in the market, thanks in no small part to its groundbreaking success with the likes of Diablo III and World of Warcraft. Join me as I celebrate this gaming giant and look at some of its key releases. Tell me, how many have you played?
RPM Racing.
Competent is the best way to describe Blizzard's first original entry in the world of video games. It's essentially a remake of Electronic Arts' popular Commodore 64 game Racing Destruction Set, and allows you to race around your own courses or complete in pre-made ones with a variety of different vehicles. While the racing itself is rather average, it's worth visiting as it's one of the best Super Nintendo games to utilize the console's distinctive high-resolution graphics mode. While the aesthetics give a good indication of the technical success that would mark many of Blizzard's later games, the uninspired gameplay and tiny playing window made RPM Racing needlessly difficult. Oh, and that's an acronym for Radical Psycho Machine, but you already knew that, right?
The Lost Vikings.
Now this is more like it. The Lost Vikings is clunky and a little awkward to control at times, but also a great example of the imagination and creativity that would form the hallmark of many later Blizzard games. A bizarre mishmash that incorporates puzzling, platforming and strategy. The Lost Vikings is you managing your time between the titular Nords, Eric, Baliog and Olaf. Each has his own unique abilities. Eric runs faster and can jump, Baliog utilizes close and long-range weapons, while Olaf can use his shield to block enemies and projectiles. The Vikings themselves are full of character, while its success on the SNES saw it moving to numerous other platforms from the Amiga CD32 to the Game Boy Advance.
Rock'n'Roll Racing.
Blizzard learned quickly from the mistakes of RPM Racing, delivering a better sequel that is immense fun to play. Out came the high-res visuals, more weapons were introduced, the Plinky Plunky soundtrack was replaced with a selection of heavy rock riffs, while the handling and track design was greatly improved. The end result is an entertaining racer that offers convincing physics, fierce competition and a great sense of progression. It's the superb renditions of rock tunes that many will remember Rock'n'Roll Racing for.
Blackthorne.
Although The Lost Vikings hinted at Blizzard's interest in exploring other areas within gaming, It was this effort that proved the developer was able to create interesting game worlds. Blackthorne is an epic, brooding adventure that calls to mind the likes of Flashback and Prince of Persia. Protagonist Kyle is able in the platform stakes, but packs a mean punch thanks to the meaty shotgun he carries. Gameplay is similar to the aforementioned Flashback, with shadows of the Super Nintendo port of Alien 3.
The death and return of Superman.
Well, this is an achievement. Against all odds, Blizzard made a Superman game that wasn't terrible. Based on a popular comic strip, Death and Return is worth playing because it allows you to control 5 different characters: Superman, the Cyborg, the Eradicator, Superboy and Steel. They all feel fairly different to each other, but there's no denying that this is nothing more than a game about hitting things and hitting them hard. Now I'm normally fine with this, but the combat of Death and Return is fairly run-of-the-mill, and the lack of a multiplayer means that anyone other than a Superman fan will soon get bored. Still, being able to fly for limited periods is a rather nice touch.
Warcraft, Orcs and Humans.
Over the whole of Azeroth.
Warcraft certainly wasn't the first RTS game, but it was one of the first to really realize the possibilities of the still fledgling genre and help take it in new and exciting directions. The most notable difference to its peers is the distinctive fantasy setting. The sci-fi elements found in the likes of Command & Conquer and Dune 2 are entirely missing, instead focusing on an age-old battle between humans and orcs. It features similar resource management to its peers, the ability to group together small parties, and has a surprisingly slick interface for its age. There's no denying that it feels rather clunky to play now, but the ability to host matches between Mac and DOS players, compete in different scenarios, and use spawn installations felt incredibly fresh at the time. This was a genuine and excellent strategy game, and in fact was the title that's largely responsible for making Blizzard the success it is today.
Justice League Task Force.
There's a reason everyone forgot Blizzard's Street Fighter II inspired one-on-one fighter. It's rubbish, okay? Okay, rubbish might be a little harsh, but there's no denying this is a very forgettable brawler with few redeeming features. The sprites look decent, but hitting your opponent rarely feels satisfying, while the difficulty is all over the shop. Kudos to Blizzard for making Aquaman as capable as every other hero here, but this is pretty dire stuff. In fact, I was right the first time. It's rubbish.
Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness.
Fled across the Great Sea.
Blizzard's sequel to its first strategy hit was another big success, eventually shifting over 2 million units. That's a lot of orc slaying. Like the original game, Tides of Darkness consists of 2 separate single-player campaigns, one for orcs, the other for humans. It also boasts the same brilliant resource gathering and controls that made the original so popular to play. Simply replicating a past classic isn't enough for Blizzard though, so it introduced an insane amount of extras that further enhanced its fantastic original. The landlock gameplay of the original is expanded with the introduction of flying and seafaring craft. New races can be aligned with, it is possible to build a huge number of new structures, while the base resources of gold and lumber have been swallowed with the introduction of oil. The fog of war mechanic has also been tweaked, making for a far better balanced game. In fact, everything about Tides of Darkness screams improvement from its fantastic cartoony-looking visuals to its slick and versatile interface. The console versions have new control systems and include the expansion Beyond the Dark Portal. The first expansion for a Warcraft game introduced 2 new campaigns, new multiplayer maps and 2 new heroes, and it was developed by the defunct Cyberlore Studios. Diablo is another example of a Blizzard game that takes a well-worn genre and turns it into something far more exciting. At its most basic, Diablo house felt it to the likes of Dandy and Gauntlet, early dungeon crawlers that allowed you to descend into the underworld and dole up a seemingly endless supply of monsters, but it feels far more epic. This in part is due to the 3 fleshed out characters, Warrior, Rogue and Sorcerer, that all play differently to each other and in turn offer plenty of replay value once the game has been completed. It's the story that really sets it apart from other games of the time, that and the sheer amount of loot you can pick up as you play. While Diablo has a fresh take on the war between heaven and hell, it also allows you to find a huge selection of insanely powerful items. While you'll fear exploring the deeper sections of the village, the sheer power to be found there will spur you on, often to your inevitable doom. It literally plays best with 4 players, but Diablo still works extremely well when playing solo.
Hellfire for Diablo.
Interestingly, this expansion wasn't by Blizzard, with coding duties falling to Synergistic Software. It introduces a new character, the Monk, as well as 2 hidden ones, Barbarian and Bard.
The Lost Vikings 2.
Blizzard's sequel is a rather unsatisfying one. It was released 5 years after the original game and straddles generations. The Saturn, PlayStation and PC versions were handled by Beam Software. The structure of the Lost Vikings 2 is the same as the first game. Use your Vikings' unique skills to traverse the puzzle-like levels. Unfortunately, the addition of 2 new characters, Fang the Wolf and Scorch the Dragon, make the game feel a little messier. While you still only ever control 3 Vikings at a time, the new abilities, Fang can climb walls and Scorch can fly and throw fireballs, don't gel as well together, as it feels like Blizzard's game is trying to do too much. It works far better on the 32-bit systems due to a lack of competitions on those platforms at the time, but age has not been kind to it.
StarCraft.
The beauty of Blizzard's hit RTS lies in the sheer diversity of its 3 races, the Protoss, Terrans and Zerg. Unlike many real-time strategy games of the time, each race has its own distinct abilities, making them stand apart from each other and lead to different styles of play. Despite these differences, the game itself is beautifully balanced, ensuring that no one faction has the upper hand. While the single-player campaign mode is huge, consisting of 30 stages, it's the finely tuned multiplayer and level editor that helped Blizzard's game build a huge fanbase. The controls are great, with Blizzard taking everything it learned from Warcraft and creating a system that's fast and flexible. StarCraft's first expansion was a big one. It diminishes the success of rushing tactics, has a bigger focus on strategy, and introduces 7 new units and augmented AI when playing alone.
Honor guide me, calls for a duel.
Diablo II.
Within the wall.
Everything about Blizzard's sequel was bigger and better than the first. Graphically, it was sensational, with dark, gloomy locations that contrasted greatly with the limited environments of Diablo. The character roster has also been revisited with 5 new heroes: Amazon, Necromancer, Barbarian, Sorceress and Paladin. As with Diablo, each play is completely different to each other, while their skill trees allow for an impressive amount of customization.
Lord of Destruction for Diablo II.
This is notable for the addition of its 5th act, 2 new classes, the Assassin and Druid, and a raft of gameplay changes to the core game, including new items and weapons.
Training in the skill of your choice.
Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos.
Another smash hit for Blizzard. The most obvious change is that there are 2 new races, Night Elves and Undead, with their own distinct skill sets. Creeps, hostile AI units that will attack anyone, are also a big addition to the game, adding an additional fear factor and making the mining of gold and other resources particularly dangerous. A day and night cycle has also been included, which changes the gameplay as creeps fall asleep at night, making scouting all the more effective. By far the biggest change is the introduction of heroes, powerful units that level up and unlock a range of useful skills and spells. Add in an expansive world editor and it becomes hard to see how Blizzard could possibly improve its classic in the future. In a similar vein, no new Warcraft games have been released since the Frozen Throne in 2003. This expansion features 4 campaigns, new units for each available race and several neutral heroes. It also reintroduced some C units last seen in Warcraft 2.
I will finish the hunt.
World of Warcraft.
I'm not gonna focus too much on Blizzard's game changer, as it's pretty obvious to all why it's so important, but let me just say, it changed MMORPGs forever. One of the most noticeable aspects of WoW was that it wasn't massively original. Instead, it simply took many of the elements from other similar games and added a level of polish that immediately made it stand out from its peers. Talent trees, quest systems, immersive lore and a near bug-free launch all helped Blizzard's game on release, while its general easiness and accessibility ensured it picked up a huge number of new players who typically didn't play MMORPGs.
Burning Crusade for World of Warcraft.
Blizzard's first WoW expansion sold over 2 million units on release day. It adds the Draenei and Blood Elves, upped by level capped to 70, and includes the Shaman and Paladin classes.
Wrath of the Lich King for WoW.
Your characters can now hit level 80. Other additions include the ability to explore the icy continent of Nordrand and a new hero class in the form of the Death Knight.
Cataclysm for WoW.
This was the big one, as it helped usher in a complete overhaul of WoW's playing systems, from major class changes to a complete overhaul of the talent system. The level cap here hit 85.
Mists of Pandaria for WoW.
This expansion raises the level cap to 90 and introduces a new continent, Pandaria. It also adds Pandaren and the Monk class.
Light bless you.
StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty.
Excitement for Blizzard's sequel was so great that it sold over 3 million copies on its first month on sale. The excitement was well placed, as StarCraft 2 is arguably one of the best examples of the genre to date. Unlike the original game, the campaign of Wings of Liberty focuses largely on the Terrans and is largely non-linear. It's also packed with variety, constantly challenging what you'd expect from a typical example of the genre and making it fresh and exciting. Wings of Liberty delights in throwing curveballs at you, but also makes you think on your feet thanks to many of the returning units having new skills to master.
Forget us.
There's more people still being held up ahead.
Heart of the Swarm for StarCraft II.
The first expansion for StarCraft II focuses on the terrifying and ruthless Zerg faction. It follows directly on from Wings of Liberty and features a number of new units for each of the races.
What is it?
Diablo III.
Now the Tristram is
Despite setting a new record on release for selling 3.5 million units on its first day, things haven't been easy for Diablo III. It was beset by internet issues on release due to Blizzard's insistence on it being always online, while its auction houses proved so controversial they were eventually shut down. Early issues aside, Diablo III is quite simply one of the best games about hitting monsters you've ever had the chance to play.
Reaper of Souls for Diablo III.
There's a lot of new stuff on offer here. A new class, the Crusader, is available. There's a 5th chapter, the level cap is now 70, and Adventure Mode lets you explore every region in the game. Blizzard's history continues to be written with creations like Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, and many still to come future classics like Diablo IV that is just around the corner. But for this video, I've kept it simple and mentioned only those titles that shaped what the company is known for nowadays. Feel free to leave your thoughts down below with your favorite games from this incredible developer that molded so many gamers throughout the years, myself included. Thank you very much for watching and I'll catch you all in my next video. Cheers!